Time keeps on leaving and we keep on moving. When do we pass on our wisdom to the youth? My veteran story, lost arts discussions, fireside chats with a bourbon or two. It's time to hear the stories by our military veterans. Get yourself ready. It's the Lost Arts Podcast. The Lost Arts with Andrew Cox. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Lost Art Podcast. That podcast is giving a voice to our veterans. On today's episode, we're going to have a fireside chat, and we're going to discuss working together despite our differences. But before we get into that, are you enjoying the podcast? Then consider being a TLA patron. That's a Lost Arts patron. It is with donors that we are able to continue recording these podcasts and getting every veteran community's voice out to all to hear. Just go to the Lost Art website, click on the Become a Patron link, and any donation is appreciated. If you would like to be a guest and tell your veteran story, then email me at thelostartwithandrewcox@gmail.com. All right, we're going to get into this fireside chat. I got Master Sergeant Retired Aaron Davis with me today, and we're going to jump into this and see how he's doing and see what's going on. How you doing out there, Aaron?
Hey, doing good.
Nice. You were just saying a second ago that you've been busy.
Yeah, I guess really nothing changes when you retire and you go straight into a civilian job.
Yeah.
The work continues.
That's right. Good times.
I guess depending on what you have set up in life, and this
Yeah.
seems to be going pretty well for you so far.
Yeah. So so we're going to talk about working together despite our differences. And as I look around, like you look at the country, you look at politics, you look at just everyday life, it seems to be so polarized on everything. And you look at trying to get things done, and people can't accomplish anything because they're fighting, they're arguing, they're doing all kinds of stupid stuff. So at the end of the day, it's not happening at a lot of places. And I guess my questions are, why is it that the military can work together despite all of our differences? We grew up in different places. We have different outlooks on life, viewpoints, you name it. There's so many different things, but how is it that we're able to actually work together and accomplish things and not let it affect the mission?
Well, I think really it starts from day one in your basic training.
Yeah.
Depending on what service you're in. I know, obviously Marine Corps boot camp, they teach us from day one. It's team first, right?
Yeah.
Mission accomplishment and troop welfare are typically you get some leaders that are out there and they'll say mission first. Uh,
Yeah.
Troops always, right?
Yeah.
Or people always. That's
Yeah.
the saying I was
Always,
looking for. People always, which, okay, yeah, I get it. You got to take care of your people so they can accomplish the mission. But at the same time, I think it's instilled in us from day one is we've got to accomplish the mission no matter what.
Oh yeah.
We look to the team, everybody on the team, to provide their input. In developing that plan and accomplishing that mission. Now, granted, you're always going to have I guess you can call them the grunts on the ground that are executing. They don't always get a say in what
True.
the plan is, right?
True.
But I think knowing your role from the get go, and I think obviously in Marine Corps boot camp, you being a former hat, obviously we both went through boot camp, but you being a former hat, you always try to instill in your recruits that they have a role that they must play on the team, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's I look at it and like I've worked with people that probably any way that you could think that we are different. Uh, uh, it's just polar opposites, but yet we overlook whatever differences there are and we just work together and we get whatever done. Now, that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that we may not argue, give each other a hard time, or things of that nature, because I mean, that obviously happens. But I think
Right.
we, in general, in the military, we have a way of kind of overlooking a lot of that stuff and just trying to figure out, hey, what's the best way forward? How can we, make this the best that we can, despite those
Well,
differences?
yeah, and I think those tough conversations are a must, right?
Yeah.
And kind of the way we prepare ourselves to, whether it's a exercise or an operation that we
Hmm.
are getting ready for, we in our planning we kind of have those, I guess, times allotted to where
Hmm.
we can kind of work out those differences if
Yeah.
need be.
Yeah. Makes sense. So now that you're retired, you're out of the military, you're working on the other side. You're still
Hmm.
dealing with military and things of that nature, but do you see a difference um, in the ability to get things done or work with other people and stuff like that? Do you see anything?
And there is a huge difference in that. And again, I've just got a small glimpse of the civilian life.
Yeah.
Only being retired, well, I guess almost, I guess it's almost a year and a half now. But you there are people, in the civilian sector that just do not understand how to communicate.
Hmm.
That I guess that would be another thing in the military is we're taught communication is key, right?
Yeah.
Um, and if you don't uh, deliver, or I guess communicate those differences or those disagreements or what have you amongst the team, then you're not going to be able to work through it. And I think in the civilian life, there's folks, and more so on the worker side of things, not so much. I see a lot of similarities across leadership
Hmm.
between military and civilian,
Okay.
but I think the workers are not so much. I say workers, I mean the ones actually pushing buttons, right?
Right. Yeah.
Um, not so much understanding or knowing how to communicate their differences. I mean, people quit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
In the military, you can't just quit, right?
That's right. Yeah. You're going to keep working no matter
Yeah,
what.
yeah,
You're
you
going
can
to get it done.
try,
Yeah.
but
You can try and quit, but it ain't going to go well for you.
right. So, but people will just up and quit, or those that are not good at communicating, they get left behind, and they get, I guess, handled or
Yeah.
or engaged with by the management,
Yeah.
and some of them are let go. I've
Yeah.
seen several already that were just let go because they don't know how to, you know,
Just not
either.
able to accomplish things, huh?
Right, right,
Work well with others and stuff.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very strange. Uh, I like that people in the military, as they move on, they get out, they have that different perspective
Hmm.
about working as a team and stuff like that. And now, granted, I have not talked to a lot of civilian employees or employers, excuse me, but it seems that they all want prior military to come in, or not all, but a good majority, because of our work ethic, because of the thing, how we work, and things of that nature. You see that fairly regular.
Yeah, I would say it's that, work ethic, but also how to deal with uh problem solvers, right? We're
Yeah.
for the most part, majority of us are problem solvers, and they look for that. And then, you know, to the point of this discussion, this chat
Hmm.
is we know how to deal with indifferences, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
because that's what we've done.
Yeah.
So,
That's true. Yeah. I just find it like sometimes amusing, like especially when you look at politics and stuff. Like
hmm
I don't know. For me, as I'm looking up and I watch when they have their sessions and stuff, and sometimes I watch the arguing back and forth.
right.
uh, it seems like literally they're not even trying to work together. It seems like they're
Oh yeah.
literally just complete opposite, and they're just trying to throw stuff back and forth at each other instead of saying, "What's the
Oh,
problem and how do we solve it?"
right. Almost like they're disagreeing just to disagree, you know?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. It's
uh,
I just don't understand that, you know.
it's kind of shameful because you don't see it. The funny thing is so obviously in the military we have to remain apolitical, right?
Hmm.
Now, obviously we see some cases where it doesn't look like that so much, but
Yeah,
uh, a topic for another time. But
yeah.
if you think, to your point about the politicians, right? It's almost like they're disagreeing. Now, you see it in the civilian life where
Hmm.
neighbors don't get along and this, that, and the other. But like, on my street alone, it's, a wide range of ethnicity, uh,
Hmm.
uh, just cultural backgrounds,
Yeah.
political alliances. But for
Hmm.
the most part, I would say on my street alone, nobody, uh, doesn't get along. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we all get along for the most part. We say
Hmm.
hi. We're all cordial. Now, again, we don't hang out every night and
Yeah.
and spend every waking moment with each other. But we don't have those arguments. And I would say the majority of America is like that.
Hmm.
And I'm with you. I do not understand why politicians can't represent the way they're supposed to and represent the people.
Yeah.
Because most of us try to work through our problems. I would say, I get it. There's times that it doesn't happen and you have violence
Hmm.
erupts, but you're absolutely right. I see it too. It's almost like everybody's trying to follow politics and become more and more polarized.
Yeah. And you said a second ago that the majority of the country, I don't think, is like that. You know,
Right.
everyone that I run into, I hardly ever have any issues with anybody, right?
Hmm.
Um, as long as you treat somebody with respect, they're going to treat you with respect 99% of the time, right?
Right.
You'll run into one here and there, but it is not very often.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I think the media makes it out to be way worse than what it actually is.
Oh yeah. 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 I don't disagree with that. Because that's what brings ratings nowadays, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Drama,
Yeah,
drama brings ratings.
yeah, yeah. And there's plenty of it right now. You look at the news
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my God. I remember, growing up watching some of the news, and I actually remember them like reporting good news stories. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that was the norm. Like they would do that, and then every now and again, okay, hey, something bad happened here or whatever. But they were always looking for the good and stuff, and you hardly ever see that anymore.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Where are we going as a nation?
It's again, it's ratings and money. It's media trying to I guess get higher ratings and more money, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah.
Uh,
I'll
but
tell
but
you.
I think most Americans are not buying into it. They see it.
Yeah,
Yeah, they may agree or disagree, whatever, but I don't think they're buying into it as much as
yeah,
uh, it appears on on social media and television and these news channels. But
yeah. True, true.
there, to the point, there's definitely differences, right? And
Hmm.
I think we all know that.
Yeah, and but for compromise, right? So let's just say that me and you are politicians, right? We're
Hmm.
we're doing our political crap, and we have a disagreement between me and you. We'd be able to compromise something, right? So there's
Yeah,
that give and take in
right.
everything that we do. Like everything in life has give and take, and you can't walk into something saying I'm going to get everything that I want and you're getting nothing. You know, it doesn't work that way. You have to walk in saying, okay, what am I willing to compromise on? And
Right.
and then you have that negotiation period. But at that point, if everyone walks in just saying, hey, I'm willing to negotiate on some things,
Yeah.
uh, man, it'd go so much smoother.
Yeah. And to that point, I think that's you have to there has to be a willingness to compromise, right?
Yeah.
Um, all within the realm of laws, right? So obviously in the military we have orders that
Hmm.
that guide us in what we do, right?
Right.
And I think part of it is, I don't want to say we're becoming a lawless nation, but I want to say that a lot of laws are being broken
Mm-hmm.
and overlooked, or folks that are doing it are not being held accountable. And I think that's probably majority of it is folks are not held accountable.
Yeah, it
Um,
seems like there's certain like there's a certain level. Like once you hit a certain level,
yeah,
whether it's in politics or whether it's whatever the case is, right? Wherever you're at, once you hit a certain level, it's like yeah, the rules don't necessarily apply.
right. And where I wanted to take that is with the military, I believe we hold each other accountable.
Oh, true.
Again, for
Yeah.
the most part, there's obviously going to be some things that slip through, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of, human nature, I think, in a
Right.
way. Uh, but for the most part, we are held accountable, first and foremost amongst each other, but by, by the orders and policies that are put in place.
Right. Maybe it's more along the lines of the the rules and the regulations aren't as defined as they should be.
I, I don't disagree. I don't
Yeah.
disagree. There's a lot of interpretation, I guess you could say,
Very true.
with the laws,
Yeah.
for our country. Obviously, there's the Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing is some people read the Constitution and they say, well, it means this. And then the others read it
Yeah.
and they say it means this. And these are constitutional scholars, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
For
Yeah.
for the average citizen, we read it and we think it's, black and white.
Yeah.
And I think for the most part it is, but, when you get lawyers involved,
Oh God.
politicians
Yeah.
involved,
Yeah.
they interpret it differently, but
And it's literally who's like at that point it's who's the smartest, right?
right,
Who's the
right,
one
right.
that can convince somebody else that they're right, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's the biggest thing. Convince. For the military, rules and regulations, there is no convincing. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's very stringent and black and white.
Yeah. That is very true. There's no skirting those issues.
Right.
Uh, but you know, I got a message from somebody today, and he
Hmm.
was talking. Where was it? Somewhere in New York, something like that. Anyway, they're talking about the Teslas, right,
Hmm.
and the electric cars,
Right.
and how because everything was so cold, they're not working at all,
Right.
and not charging, whatever. And he tells me he's like, if you hold on, I'm gonna pull it up because it's actually pretty good. Let me see here. Mm. Okay, so he says the Tesla thing, right, is an
Uh-huh.
example of what happens when people obsess about the bright, new, shiny gear and forget about the people.
Right.
He
Yeah.
said, and then he goes into, like this is kind of to a certain extent, the Marine Corps or the military services in general are moving in that direction as well, right? And
Right.
we're not looking at the basics of what the rules and the regulations and all those things say.
Uh-huh.
You can look at it that way. But I just thought that was funny how he put that, and I was like, oh yeah, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, you think about, since your and my time began in the military,
Hmm.
you think about the one thing that has become a major issue that is now being included in warfare, cyber, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
When you and I first started our careers, maybe the company commander had a computer,
yeah.
depending on where you were at.
That's true.
But like nobody was working on a computer. Nowadays, everybody works on a computer. Well, we have our annual training requirement,
Yeah,
for information awareness, right?
yeah,
So, that being said, who is the ones operating this stuff? So
yeah.
again, you got to think about the people. Number one, who does it affect? The people,
Hmm.
right? So, from start to finish, you got to think about the folks involved,
Oh yeah,
when it
yeah.
comes to this, right? Until we have robots that are doing everything for us, right?
Well, supposedly now that whole AI thing, right? They're
Yeah, yeah,
supposedly it's starting to happen now that I know now as far as the robots, I'm not so sure. I don't know about that. But uh now your computer, your phone, different things like that, the devices, you can just tell it like, hey, I want to I want you to write a letter based on, and then you tell it like 4 or 5
Oh yeah.
things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it comes up with a whole deal, right? And that's what my
Yeah.
wife did on my book when she when we were coming up with a description of the book or whatever, and literally she just said, "Hey, I wanted to say these things," and
Yeah.
it pulled up a great like thing. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if you've seen it, but I'll read some of it. It says, in a world where digital technology has taken over, the art of storytelling is quickly being lost. But there is one place where the tradition of storytelling still thrives, in the fishing community. So
Yeah.
that's just one paragraph or one sentence out of it, right? But that's how smart AI is, man. And I was like, dang, I
Well,
wish I was
yeah.
that good.
Yeah. I mean, well, yes, use it to help you, write those things,
Hmm.
papers, whatever you got to do, right?
Yeah.
But I think, sometimes people lose focus on the fact that, a human has to be in charge of that, right?
Yeah.
If you just let it go and let it do its own thing, right, it turns into the private without any leadership, right?
Yeah.
You
It's
just turn
true.
them loose, and next thing you know, you're getting phone calls from civilian authorities or whatever, right?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So there kind of has to be some, I guess a guiding light, if you will.
Yeah. There
Uh,
has to be somebody there, right?
right.
I mean, then we're going to turn into, I mean, if we don't do that, then you got a bunch of, oh man, Arnold Schwarzenegger. What movie was that? Where he's a robot or whatever comes back. You're just going to have a bunch of those guys running around.
Terminator, yeah, yeah,
Terminator, yeah, yeah. You're going
yeah.
to have a bunch of Terminators running around,
Right, right.
So we don't need none of that.
Again, and like I said, if the machine or robot or technology doesn't know what it needs to do, then
Yeah,
it can't do it. But if you
yeah,
tell it what
right.
to do, it can do it pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, I can. Like I said, way better than I could do it. So I was the other day I did a um, safety brief. That was the title last Friday,
Right.
and so we talked about the safety brief, but I talked about suicide
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And I went down the VA website. Have you gone on that to look at it?
I have to be honest with you and say no, I haven't.
It is
I've
actually pretty damn good, man.
I've read. You kind of get into this mode of kind of reading things that pertain specifically to you, and
Yeah,
you kind of lose track of everything, I guess, if you
yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a great website. So I just kind of
Okay.
went down it and it was talking about suicide and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
I just walked through it and I mean that the VA has really come a long way when it comes to stuff like that. So I was very impressed.
Yeah, and I would say that technology has helped that in that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
the other, I would say, since we're on differences, the other thing I would say is that that's another place that I guess differences need to be set aside when you're dealing with the technology in order to accomplish the mission, right?
yeah, yeah. That's true. Yeah, hmm. Gotta love it, man. So I really didn't have anything else on differences. Do you have anything else on that?
No, I mean, I would say that I think it's important that we know each other's differences and where you have to know the team, right? I,
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
been watching a lot of sports lately. My
Mm-hmm.
wife hasn't liked it, but a lot of sports lately, especially Arkansas sports. And the one example I'll give you is the Arkansas basketball team right now. A
Yeah.
lot of talent on that team.
Mm-hmm.
However, there's some obvious visual differences amongst the players on the team
Yeah.
because they cannot put it together. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
they, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, it's Arkansas." I get it, but sports is one of those places that I think a lot of people can relate and they can look at a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't win the game if you're not a team.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Very true.
you're gonna have some good players here and there, some star players here and there
Yeah.
that perform well. But if that is the only player that is performing well, and the other team is performing well as a team,
Yeah.
I'd say 9 times out of 10 you're going to lose, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Very true.
Um,
I mean, look at all the great football, basketball coaches, things of that nature.
mhm.
Uh, the what has made them great? You know what I'm saying?
Right,
And it's the ability to get them to play as a team.
right. Yep.
So, and
That's
and
the
you're right.
key.
There's sometimes there's those superstars, right, that
Hmm.
can carry a team, but they can't carry the team all the time. I
Right.
mean, everybody's gonna have good days, bad days.
Yep. Absolutely. And again, it goes back to me, in working with your differences is knowing your role. What is your role in that team's mission, right?
Yeah.
Are you, let's keep it on sports. Are you a shooter for basketball? Are you, for football? Are you a receiver? If you're
Hmm.
a receiver, we don't need you to go block a defensive lineman. It
Yeah.
happens sometimes, but
Yeah. Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? When you do be excellent at your job,
Yeah.
and then be a team player and willing to help out, and where the where some of the weaknesses are, I guess you could
Right.
say.
No, one of the places that I could think of for that specifically is you look back at the Chicago Bulls, right? And you
Hmm.
had Michael Jordan,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Superstar, right?
Yep.
You had Scottie Pippen come in. He was doing superstar things. Uh, and then, oh man, what is the dude's name?
Dennis Rodman. So,
Dennis Rodman come
so
in.
did you
That's right.
watch the? I guess it was on the Dream Team, on the Netflix.
I believe so. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
how he came in and was like his sole role was to one make people mad,
Yep.
two rebound the ball.
Yep.
you know, he had his role, and he
Yep.
goes, okay, I'll play that role, and he did it. And that was one of the reasons that they were as successful as they were.
Well, I remember. I can't remember the details of it, but one part of it was I can't even remember where they were. Maybe going into the playoffs or something. But I guess Dennis Rodman, like he was out doing his thing, right? Whether it
Oh
was
yeah, he was out. Went to
pri-
Vegas, right?
right, yeah,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
had
yeah.
his and I guess it was late for practice or didn't show up or something, and they wanted to like penalize him for it. And Jordan
Hmm.
told him, he was like, no, we need him.
Yeah,
We've got to have him to do this one thing. So let him
yeah.
do his thing, and then we'll and they won, right?
Yeah, and he came
So
back and he was good. He just needed to
yep,
go, I guess let off some steam or something. I don't
right.
know. No telling what all he did.
But
So
but to the point, that's knowing your
yeah.
your player, whether it's your players, your teammates,
Hmm.
whatever. That's knowing their differences and kind of managing that team
Yeah,
with their differences, right?
absolutely. Yeah. And the
So
coach, was it Phil Jackson? Was he the
yeah,
coach
Phil
there?
Jackson. Yep.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job with it.
Hmm.
And then you're managing people with egos and stuff, right? I mean,
Oh yeah. I mean,
it's rough, man. That's a tough call. I mean, even the military, you're dealing with that, right? You're gonna have some
oh
people
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah. I mean,
they think
it's
they know it all, and.
yep. It. I
But
think I think it's human. Some people are worse than others, but I think it's human nature to kind of remain humble,
hmm.
or I'm sorry, to not remain humble.
Hmm.
Uh, those that are able to, or be like, excellent and top of their game at whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
And that can remain humble are some very special people. I think
yeah,
average humans, once they, you know, it's like, it, it, I guess I could equivalent it to like somebody like us winning the lottery, right? If you don't have your head on the street going into it, you win the lottery, you're going to end up, blowing it all. And I guess there is a statistic out there that
well,
shows,
most of
but
them do, from what I
yeah,
like, all this stuff
right.
goes so.
Because they're not
Especially if you're used to blowing your money anyways and not saving it, and then you're just gonna
right.
do the same thing when you get a bunch of money.
Exactly. So, once you become top of your game, whatever it is, sports,
Hmm.
military, whatever, it's key to remain humble and
Yeah,
not let it get to you. And I think that happens with a lot of people though. They kind of get the big head, I guess you could say.
yeah, yeah. There's, I'd say to a certain extent, I think if you're that successful or whatever, okay, yeah, you can have your moment. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but you have to remember, like, hey,
Oh yeah,
eventually
yeah,
I'm not going to be on top forever, right?
right.
Uh, so I think that's important.
Yep, absolutely.
Oh, so yeah. What else? I don't even know. I don't keep up with current topics and news. I don't really keep up with any of that.
Well, it's an election year, so there's a lot of differences going around this year.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah, I guess I did know that. Uh, yeah, that was going to be
so we
interesting.
so we kind of know what happened the last go around, and I think for us to uh, fail as a nation again, okay, yeah, we made it through, but we had a lot of deaths from COVID, right? In the
Yeah.
last election year, we kind of seen the results and what happened. We know where
Hmm.
we are since then, but I think it's important for us to learn from that,
Hmm. Yeah.
uh, and let's not you know, me.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got the shot right, but I was definitely not a fan of it, and
Yeah.
I waited until the last minute.
You
Uh,
did. You did. Yeah.
but I would also say that we made some mistakes there, and I think
Hmm.
if something similar to that was to happen again, I think I would hope that we could approach it in a different way. But
Yeah, most definitely. I think I don't know. That was just a weird situation.
it was, and again, like I said, we're there now, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the end of January. I think 4 years ago it happened around this time for
Hmm.
for the most part, and we got into February. I actually remember I was actually in where was I? I was either in Kuwait or Qatar,
Okay.
and when we got back, that's basically whenever they locked everything down. It was around like
Hmm.
February 12th or something like that.
Yeah. I was
Or
in
maybe it was March. I don't
California.
remember. I just remember it was basically everything was locked down when we got back. But
Yeah. Yeah. I was in California, and I will say the best thing about COVID, um, for me at least, I can only speak for me. The
hmm
best thing about COVID was nobody was out driving, and so my commute was way faster. I didn't have to deal with cars, people.
yeah,
It was perfect.
I,
In that Southern California traffic, so
yeah.
not having everybody on the road, that was a fantastic thing.
I would say there was kind of a similar situation down here in Florida in Tampa
Yeah.
because it was I guess about an hour commute for only 25 miles of driving.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, it gets bad down here. But to your point, yeah, nobody was on the roads,
Hmm.
and they opened up the toll roads for free for a little while. So
Oh, no kidding.
yeah,
Dang. Yeah, that's a good deal. I wish
but
they do that now.
well, again, there's differences in thoughts on that, right?
Yeah.
So some people say, hey, we need it to, for revenue to
Hmm.
maintain the roads. Well, we do pay taxes, so what are we doing with that money? You know,
Man, that opens a whole new can of worms.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, what are we doing with that money?
Right, right, right.
Jeez.
So, but yeah, and it's kind of hard to justify. I'm not saying that there's bad roads everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I would say if you're well, I mean, you're in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, and I would say those are not the best roads.
Oh no, not no.
But there are some toll roads there, and so I'm kind of questioning what they're doing with that revenue. you know?
Well, the toll. Well, I take that back. No, some of those toll roads are not great. Um, like especially when you're coming up close to the tunnels and stuff like that.
Right.
Those are pretty shot
Yeah.
roads.
But
But
you see how the differences in opinions could be, right?
yeah, oh yeah, 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 for sure, man.
Yeah.
That's just insane. But hey, unless you want to chat about something else before we get off here, um,
No, I think this is a good intro. Hopefully, we can get a couple other people on next week
yeah,
or soon, and
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
have some differences in opinions, right?
Yeah, I know. It was me and you agree on a lot of things, so we need to be able to have it polarized
Right.
so we can argue back and forth and people will listen more.
but to that point, it's kind of weird how that happens when we're kind of almost from the same region of the country, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be one of the reasons that we think a lot alike.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Who knows? I was
Yep.
talking to, who was I talking to? One of my guests was from New York, and
Mm-hmm.
and he was talking about the differences and stuff like that of
Right.
like how he grew up in New York versus other places,
Mm-hmm.
like Camp Lejeune, for example. And he's like, "Yeah, well, it's a huge difference."
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, "Yeah, I can see that."
Well, to that point, look at Camp Lejeune in Jacksonville, North Carolina, compared to Camp Pendleton in
Oh yeah,
San Diego, California.
yeah.
So
Well, I
there you
mean, that's a
go.
completely. I say it's almost a completely different Marine Corps, but the whole thing of
East
Hollywood
Coast, West
versus,
Coast. Yep.
yeah.
East Coast,
So
West Coast Marines
it is
differences.
different, man. It is honestly different, and
Yeah.
I don't know how to 100% explain it to people when they're like, "Oh, well,
Right.
it's a different Marine Corps." What do you mean by that? And it's just it's a little more relaxed in California.
Yeah.
Um, Things don't happen like as quickly sometimes, like when you're
Uh-huh.
talking about passing information and stuff like that, just because everything is so spread out. Whereas on Camp Lejeune, man, everything is right there. It's all on like one or two roads,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the division, right? It's all right there, and it more so at Lejeune than anywhere else I've ever been is the Sergeant Major Mafia, man. Holy moly, those guys! Whew, you
There's
didn't
only
get.
so much. There's only so much to do in J Vegas.
Wow, that's true. That's true. I'm telling you, man. If you if you're not in on the Sergeant Major Mafia and they don't like you, man, stand by because you're not
Yeah.
gonna get nothing done.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how they work.
That's how they work there.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I
And
learned a
everything's
lot.
close together there too.
Yeah,
Pendleton, it's more spread out.
oh
Larger
yeah. I
base.
mean, shoot, go from one side of base to the other side of base is like 45
29
minutes.
Palms, you have an entire regiment over
Hmm.
there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
It's wild, man. All right. Well, thanks for jumping on here. We'll try to set it up for next week, and we'll get a couple more guests on here.
Okay.
Maybe I can get the guys that are gonna come in and play at my retirement, get them on the podcast, and we can all just talk about shenanigans there.
Okay.
Yeah, there's four guys coming into play from 29 Palms when my very first band. Uh,
Nice.
so
You know, at my retirement, I was joking about being a Liberty risk, but I think we might actually be Liberty risk at your retirement.
I do believe that might be a true statement.
We will see.
All I can say is my hotel hopefully is right across the street, so I can just stumble across
But
the street.
that makes things a little bit easier.
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely not driving anywhere. I can tell you that.
All
So I
right.
recommend to anybody else don't drive. Just get a room.
Yep.
All right. Well, hey man, thanks for joining me tonight. And for everybody that's out there, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you stuck through as we chatted about craziness here at our fireside. I didn't have the fire going this time. At our not fireside chat, and join us next week whenever we do it again. Hopefully we'll have some other guys on and gals maybe, and we can have a good time talking about shenanigans again. All right, everybody, stay motivated. Change your socks.